Hello, family. Enjoy this relaxing moment with Surly Tales. Remember to hit the like button, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. It means the world to us. Also, share this video with your friends and loved ones, and turn on post notifications so you don't miss future videos from us. Thank you as you do so. Sit back and relax as we dive into the story. The early morning sun cast its bright, golden rays over the bustling city of Lagos, Nigeria. Skyscrapers and newly built apartments glistened under its light, hinting at the city's ever-growing prosperity. The roads were jam-packed with cars of all models, from rusted minivans spewing exhaust to the latest European luxury sedans. Street vendors hawked everything from roasted plantains to vibrant Ankara fabrics, catering to the diverse population. This was modern Africa, a vivid tapestry of old traditions and new aspirations. In the posh neighborhood of Victoria Island lived Mrs. Adeola Williams. She was known for her exceptional philanthropy, a quality that had earned her both national and international recognition. At 42, Adeola was married to Chief Olumide Williams, a wealthy businessman with stakes in construction, technology, and oil. Her stature was boosted by her philanthropic spirit, funding the education of underprivileged children and sponsoring health drives in remote villages. Whenever the name Adeola Williams appeared in the media, it was often accompanied by stories of her generosity. Yet, behind the scenes, secrets brewed in their marriage that only a handful of individuals suspected. Outside their opulent mansion, her staff prepared for the day's visitors. Tall iron gates guarded the property, flanked by manicured gardens that bloomed with tropical flowers. A few exotic sculptures dotted the driveway, testaments to Adeola's love for art. Her staff, dressed in crisp uniforms, scurried around ensuring each corner was spotless, for an important meeting was scheduled that afternoon with representatives of an international charity foundation. Adeola intended to discuss an upcoming event to raise funds for orphanages across Nigeria. It was an event she was deeply passionate about. She had lost her parents at a tender age and was raised by her grandmother in Ibadan. Her personal story fueled her drive to help children who faced a similar fate. However, there was an undercurrent of tension in the mansion that morning. Chief Williams had left earlier than usual. He hurried through breakfast, barely glancing at his wife. He claimed he had a sudden business emergency, something about a policy change affecting his real estate interests. But Adeola couldn't help noticing the way his eyes darted around, avoiding her gaze. His phone chimed incessantly, each ring met with a furtive glance. Adeola had lived with Olumide long enough to understand when there was something he was hiding, and her intuition told her that trouble lurked somewhere in the background. Unknown to Adeola, her husband was on his way to meet a woman who had ensnared his attention for the better part of a year. This woman was Amaka, a stylish, ambitious socialite who turned heads wherever she went. She was in her late 20s, brimming with confidence and charm, and determined to climb the social ladder in Lagos by any means possible. Her fling with Chief Williams started innocently enough. He had spotted her at a posh beach club in Lekki, captivating a small group of admirers with her lively wit. They exchanged numbers, and soon, clandestine dinner dates and private weekend getaways became routine. Amaka was aware Olumide was a married man, but that hardly stopped her from dreaming of bigger prospects. She had grown up in a modest neighborhood on the outskirts of Enugu, and from a young age, she resolved to never be trapped by poverty. When she discovered Olumide's wealth and influence, she took it upon herself to keep him enthralled. She flaunted her fashion sense on social media, tagging him discreetly, hinting at their hidden love. Olumide, in turn, showered her with gifts, expensive jewelry, designer handbags, and nightly dinners in the most exclusive restaurants. What she never suspected was that his finances were deeply intertwined with his wife's. While the business empire was under Olumide's name, Adeola was the backbone who managed its finances. That afternoon, as Adeola concluded her meeting with the international charity representatives, she felt a surge of pride. Plans were being set in motion for an extravagant fundraiser, which would take place at one of Lagos's most prestigious event centers. High-profile politicians, celebrities, and business icons had confirmed their attendance. On top of that, her best friend, Nkem, was handling publicity. Knowing Nkem's knack for viral social media campaigns, Adeola expected the event to be the biggest philanthropic gathering of the year. Adeola's satisfaction, however, was marred by a tinge of worry. She had recently overheard hushed whispers among some close associates. There were rumors that Chief Williams had been seen in questionable situations around town. While she had never doubted her husband's love before, she knew that success and wealth often brought temptations. She tried to dismiss the uneasy feeling, but it lingered in the recesses of her mind. Later that evening, Olumide returned home. He found his wife in her study reviewing some brochures. She greeted him with a warm smile, asking if he'd had dinner. He said he was not hungry, his response abrupt. A certain restlessness seemed to consume him. He paced around the living room, typed furiously on his phone, and occasionally disappeared into his office for extended phone calls. Adeola could no longer ignore the signals. Deciding that it would be counterproductive to push him for answers at that moment, she made a mental note to keep a closer eye on him. In another part of the city, Amaka was busy trying on outfits in her newly furnished apartment. The living room was chic and modern, decorated with imported furniture, abstract artwork, and plush rugs. Piles of shopping bags littered the floor, a testament to a recent spree at high-end boutiques in Victoria Island. She was preparing for an upcoming high society wedding she'd been invited to, rubbing shoulders with the city's elite. Still, a message from Olumide had told her to expect a special surprise soon. The excitement dancing in her eyes was unmistakable. Her phone buzzed, another admirer sliding into her direct messages, praising her latest Instagram post. She smirked, mentally congratulating herself for capturing the attention of some of the wealthiest men in Lagos. Unbeknownst to Amaka, this self-assured track would lead her directly to Adeola's charity event in a matter of weeks, where her boldness would set off a cascade of revelations no one could have predicted. The gift Olumide had just promised her would become the catalyst of her eventual public humiliation and a stepping stone in Adeola's personal journey towards self-discovery. And so, in the quiet corners of Victoria Island, the gears of fate were turning, setting everyone on a collision course that would reverberate across social media and beyond. As darkness cloaked Lagos, the city lights illuminated both the wealthy neighborhoods and the sprawling informal settlements. Music from nearby clubs and bars reverberated through the air. From the vantage point of her bedroom window, Adeola could see the city still teeming with life at night. She took a final glance at her phone, countless messages from well-wishers excited about her forthcoming charity event. She exhaled a hopeful sigh, determined to put her anxieties to rest. Meanwhile, Amaka curled up on her lavish velvet sofa, daydreaming of the grand surprise Olumide had promised, blissfully unaware of the silent storm that was steadily approaching. A few days after her meeting with the international charity representatives, Adeola Williams found herself immersed in the labyrinth of logistics for her upcoming charity event. Her large, well-lit study was cluttered with folders, spreadsheets, and endless printouts. She adored the organized chaos. Each stack of papers symbolized another child's scholarship, another medical outreach in remote villages, or another beneficiary of her philanthropic organizations. She worked closely with her personal assistant, Zainab, a determined young woman from Kaduna who was pursuing a master's degree in public health. Zainab admired Adeola's approach to giving and often voiced how inspired she felt to see a Nigerian woman champion causes on such a grand scale. That day, they were finalizing the list of guests when Adeola's phone rang. Her best friend and publicist, Nkem, sounded both excited and worried. "Adeola, we have a sensational response already. Everyone wants to attend. We're trending on Twitter and Instagram. But there's a catch. I've heard rumors about unsavory drama. People love a spectacle. The minute we announced your fundraiser, the rumor mill started churning out stories about your husband." Adeola felt her chest tighten. "What sort of rumors?" she asked, her voice level but tinged with concern. "Well, it's typical gossip. Allegedly, Chief Williams was spotted out with a mystery lady. People say she's been flaunting expensive gifts. Some are certain they come from him. The pictures are all over certain gossip blogs." Nkem paused, then added quickly, "I didn't want to bother you with it, but you should be aware. If she shows up at your event, there might be an awkward confrontation." Adeola stayed silent for a moment. Her mind wandered to the anxious nights she'd had recently, suspecting her husband's interest in another woman. She was not one to jump to conclusions, yet the evidence was mounting. The philanthropic event was crucial, and the mere hint of scandal threatened to overshadow her life's work. She inhaled deeply, steeling herself. "Thank you. Keep me updated if you hear anything new," she said. Hanging up, Adeola tried to refocus on her event. She'd poured her heart and wealth into it, involving partners from across Africa. Corporate sponsors from Johannesburg, Accra, and Nairobi had pledged their support. Even the richest of Lagos's big men, renowned for throwing extravagant parties, were lined up to attend. The last thing she needed was negativity overshadowing her cause. Meanwhile, in the city's commercial hub, Amaka was experiencing a euphoria like never before. She had been receiving calls from random socialites, inviting her to gatherings and praising her style. They saw in her a fresh face, a woman who had seemingly conquered the upper echelon in the blink of an eye. In Lagos, glitz and glamour were a currency, and Amaka was investing heavily. The impetus behind her newly minted social status was a sleek new Mercedes-Benz GLE coupe. Just days earlier, Olumide had called her, instructing her to visit a certain car dealership in Ikeja. Upon her arrival, the manager welcomed her with a polite bow and promptly had her sign some documents. Before she could even realize what was happening, she was handed the key to the brand-new SUV. Its metallic silver sheen sparkled under the dealership's lights, symbolizing the immense wealth of the benefactor behind it. Amaka was beyond ecstatic. She recorded a short video for Instagram, panning over the leather seats and high-tech dashboard. Her voice dripped with excitement. "Hey fam, guess who just upgraded to the best wheels in town? Hard work pays. If you believe, you can achieve." She ended it with a bright smile. In truth, hard work was the least of it. Her real commodity was an affair with one of Lagos's richest men. She had no clue that behind the scenes, the car had been authorized and paid for by none other than Adeola herself, as part of the Williams family's corporate vehicle policy. The staff who processed it recognized the name Olumide Williams and automatically debited from the family's joint account, which Adeola maintained for philanthropic and family expenses. Word spread quickly among the city's busybodies. Some recognized the license plate series, linking it to the Williamses' fleet of vehicles. The gossip soared. Still, nothing made it to the mainstream media because of Adeola's squeaky clean reputation. She was beloved by journalists, who were generally hesitant to paint her in a bad light. Online, however, was a different story. Anonymous trolls and starstruck fans joined forces to piece together the puzzle. The final conclusion in many a gossip forum was that Chief Williams was spoiling a side chick, and the funds might have come from Mrs. Williams's philanthropic accounts. Days turned into weeks, and Adeola felt the tension solidify in her marriage. Every time she tried to engage Olumide in conversation about the event or future philanthropic projects, he seemed inattentive, distracted by his phone. At night, she noticed him stepping out onto the balcony to make calls. She wasn't naive, she knew these were calls to Amaka. Still, she remained calm, refusing to let her temper upend her composure. She had grown from a girl who once scrambled for survival to a powerful woman forging a legacy. She knew that a hasty confrontation could sabotage her event and bring heartbreak without resolution. One late afternoon, Adeola, exhausted from planning, decided to surprise Olumide at his office. She arranged for a local eatery to bring in his favorite meal, amla and udu soup with spicy goat meat, hoping to bond over lunch. But her attempt was thwarted. Olumide was nowhere to be seen, and his office staff seemed clueless. Only his secretary, an older woman who had worked with him for over 15 years, gave Adeola a sympathetic smile. "Madam, he just stepped out for a moment," she said. Adeola left the food on his desk, penning a short note. "I miss talking to you. Let's have dinner at home tonight." Although she did not admit it aloud, Adeola felt a pang of loneliness. She returned to her SUV, weaving through traffic back to Victoria Island. The city buzzed around her, teeming with entrepreneurs, hustlers, and dreamers all trying to carve out a piece of success in modern Africa. She passed billboards showcasing the latest music sensations, upcoming Nollywood films, and expensive real estate projects promising luxury living at affordable prices. Everyone wanted to be seen, to shine, to flaunt what they had. And soon, at her charity event, she suspected the glitz would be overshadowed by a scandal if her husband and his mistress dared to show up. Tension continued to build, but Adeola channeled her energy into the final touches for the fundraiser. She secured a top-notch musician famous across West Africa to perform and lined up a star comedian as MC. She also enlisted more volunteers to handle social media coverage, determined that the cause, helping orphans, would remain front and center. Meanwhile, even though she tried to keep her personal woes hidden, people whispered. Nkem was on red alert, ensuring no rumor about the mistress overshadowed the event's publicity. Oblivious to the deeper implications, Amaka was busy fueling the rumor mill. She reveled in posting daily photos of her new car, snippets of high-end restaurant visits, and selfies in lavish hotel lobbies. Each caption was a carefully orchestrated display of success. Followers bombarded her with questions. "Sis, are you a brand influencer? Which business are you into?" She avoided specifics, allowing the imagination of her fans to run wild. In her mind, she saw nothing wrong with publicly enjoying her man's generosity, though she had no clue that another woman's resources, Adeola's resources, had paid for that showy lifestyle. All roads were now converging, leading to the grand charity event that loomed only a week away. The invitation had circulated widely, crossing social classes and bridging the gap between the philanthropic elite and the social climbers looking for the next big spectacle. Adeola stood on the precipice of a life-altering confrontation, yet she held on to hope that her event's success would eclipse any personal scandal. But fate had other ideas. The silent storm brewing behind the scenes was about to erupt under the bright lights of Lagos's most anticipated gala. The final week before the charity gala was a whirlwind of activity, with every day packed tight with meetings, phone calls, and last-minute changes. Adeola managed her stress by micromanaging every detail: the decorations, the seating charts, and the schedule of performances. She woke up at dawn to pray, seeking clarity and protection from the storm she sensed building around her. Despite the tension in her marriage, she insisted on maintaining a united front professionally. If anyone asked, she spoke of Olumide with warmth and admiration, reminding people of his unwavering support in her philanthropic ventures, although the reality was becoming more complicated behind closed doors. The venue itself was a sight to behold, a large event center in Victoria Island overlooking the calm waters of the Lagos Lagoon. Floor-to-ceiling glass windows showcased the skyline, and the interior boasted polished marble floors that reflected the glimmering chandeliers overhead. On the day of setup, trucks and vans arrived, unloading tables, chairs, and floral arrangements. A local interior designer had been contracted to turn the space into a testament of African elegance, complete with centerpieces featuring African lilies, bold patterned fabrics draped over the tables, and subtle references to Nigeria's cultural heritage. One of Adeola's favorite touches was the installation of multiple photo booths. Each booth was sponsored by different corporate entities, and they featured charitable messages. She had arranged it so that every photo snapped at the booth automatically posted to social media with a #HopeForOrphans hashtag. She was intent on ensuring that every mention, every share, translated to raising awareness. This event wasn't just for glitz, it was about the children awaiting hope across the country. As she inspected the final touches, Adeola's mind drifted to Olumide's unusual absence. He claimed to be out of Lagos on a business trip, leaving her in charge of the gala's final preparations. She didn't question him directly, but a nagging voice in her head told her he might be staying with Amaka. She had scrolled through social media a few times, noticing new posts from Amaka showing expensive dinners, spa treatments, and nights out in exclusive clubs. Adeola felt a pang of hurt, but she pushed it aside, determined not to let personal pain overshadow her larger purpose. In truth, Olumide was not in Lagos. He was in Abuja, securing a major business contract with a government agency. But there was no denying he was still in constant contact with Amaka. He called her each night, promising to fly back in time for the gala. He assured her it would be the social event of the year, encouraging her to attend if she could wrangle an invitation. Amaka, ever ambitious, made a few phone calls to see if she could secure a last-minute ticket. She had a friend who was acquainted with an up-and-coming artist performing at the gala. Through this connection, Amaka managed to get her name on the list. Overjoyed, she began planning how to make the grandest possible entrance, especially because she'd be arriving in her flashy new Mercedes. In the midst of these preparations, rumors escalated online. Social media personality Mama Tiwa, known for her savage take on celebrity gossip, alluded to a high-profile event that might become the scandal of the year. Without naming names, she hinted that a prominent Lagos billionaire's mistress was planning to make a scene at the wife's philanthropic gala. The post went viral. Anxious messages began to flood Nkem's phone. Sponsors grew nervous, worried that the negative spotlight might jeopardize their involvement. But Adeola, displaying a resilience characteristic of her, decided to tackle the rumors head-on. During a live radio show with one of Lagos's biggest OAPs, on-air personalities, she was asked pointedly about the swirling gossip. Adeola smiled warmly, her calm voice radiating sincerity. "We must remember what this event is truly about. It's for the children. Whatever stories are going around about me or my family, I encourage everyone to join me in focusing on the bigger goal, improving lives." The interview was widely shared, and for a moment, sentiments seemed to shift back to her favor. Meanwhile, Zainab, Adeola's assistant, noticed something peculiar in the event's RSVP list. A certain Ms. Amaka Obi had registered through a sponsors +1 arrangement. The name rang a bell. Zainab recalled gossip sites referencing an Amaka who was rumored to be involved with a wealthy tycoon. She hesitated but felt compelled to inform Adeola. Approaching her boss gently, Zainab murmured, "Ma, there's a name on the list that might interest you. Should I remove her or let her attend?" Adeola paused for a moment, scanning the name on the tablet Zainab held. Her stomach flipped as her suspicions solidified. This was likely the same woman. She took a steadying breath and decided to allow fate to play out. "She can come," Adeola said quietly. She thanked Zainab for her vigilance, but made it clear they would proceed as planned. She reasoned that removing her would only spark more speculation and rumor. If anything, letting her in might give Adeola the upper hand. The morning of the charity gala arrived with a flurry of excitement and anticipation. Media outlets stationed themselves at the red carpet entrance, cameras ready to capture the city's elite. Tall banners with images of smiling children lined the pathway, reminding everyone why they were there. A local TV station dedicated a segment to broadcast live from the event, and thousands tuned in on YouTube, eager for any glimpse of the philanthropic superstar and the rumored drama that might ensue. By midday, sponsors started to arrive: CEOs, politicians, Nollywood stars, and influencers. Each guest was greeted with chilled palm wine served in sleek glasses, a nod to Nigerian culture modernized for a high-class event. Inside, the hall was abuzz with conversations. Some were genuinely passionate about the cause, exchanging ideas on how to improve child welfare. Others were there for networking or merely to see and be seen. Adeola floated around the room, warmly greeting everyone. Her outfit, a custom-made gown by a celebrated Nigerian designer, combined modern lines with traditional Ankara prints in subtle gold and royal blue. She radiated poise, hardly betraying any sign of the nerves building inside her. Just as the opening performances were about to start, whispers swept through the room. A brand-new, gleaming Mercedes-Benz pulled up to the entrance. Onlookers craned their necks, expecting a movie star or a prominent politician to step out. Instead, the door opened to reveal a striking young woman in a form-fitting, emerald green dress. Her makeup was flawless, her hair styled in an elegant updo, and a dazzling necklace glittered at her neck. She smiled confidently at the cameras, relishing the attention. Amaka had arrived. She felt a wave of exhilaration as she stepped onto the red carpet, ignoring the perplexed glances from attendees trying to place her face. Flashes went off from the paparazzi stationed outside, capturing the moment. She held her clutch tightly, scanning the crowd for any sign of Olumide. He had promised to meet her there. Her heart thumped with excitement mixed with nervousness. This was her chance to rub shoulders with some of the most influential people in Africa and to show off her lavish lifestyle. Inside, Adeola heard the murmurs too. She didn't have to look to confirm who had just pulled up. The tension in the room said it all. She steadied herself, exhaling a silent prayer. One thought echoed through her mind. Let this event go smoothly, let the children's cause shine above any scandal. Unbeknownst to Amaka, the car she was so proudly stepping out of was funded by Adeola herself, tying their fates in an improbable twist. The night was about to unfold in ways neither woman could have ever anticipated. The stage was set, the players present, and the entire city, if not the entire continent, was watching closely. The mood inside the venue was nothing short of electric. Lively African drumbeats fused with contemporary rhythms as a famous Nigerian Afropop artist took to the stage for the opening act. Guests were seated at round tables lavishly dressed with white linen and gold accents, and waiters glided through the aisles serving a fusion of continental and local dishes, jollof rice, peppered snail, and grilled chicken suya skewers. The official program was about to begin, but pockets of conversation buzzed about the mysterious woman who had stepped out of the brand-new Mercedes just moments before. Amaka stood near the entrance, delighting in the attention from a small group of people curious enough to approach her. She offered them her trademark smile, occasionally posing for selfies. She carried herself with the grace of someone accustomed to luxury, carefully concealing her background and her motivations. A few people recognized her from gossip blogs and discreetly nudged their companions, whispering speculation about her relationship with Chief Williams. Yet no one dared to confront her outright. After all, this was a high society event, and direct confrontation was not the style among polite company. Across the room, Adeola observed silently, her trained socialite's poise keeping her features neutral. She had her own circle of admirers, politicians seeking endorsements, international donors praising her philanthropic works, and Nollywood actors just eager for a photo op. However, her internal monologue ran through possible ways the night might explode into scandal. She glanced occasionally toward the entrance, noticing the sly looks people were casting her way, waiting for a reaction. She remained calm, a gentle smile plastered on her face. Focus on the children, she reminded herself. This is bigger than me. Then, as if orchestrated by the fates, Olumide stepped into the ballroom, dapper in a dark blue agbada embroidered with gold threads. He walked briskly, scanning the crowd. A moment later, his eyes locked with Adeola's. It was a fleeting but telling glance, one that contained a swirl of guilt, concern, and forced composure. Adeola offered a polite nod. She noticed a bead of sweat forming on his brow despite the air conditioning, and she knew. He was aware that Amaka had arrived, and now he had to keep appearances in check. Olumide made his way to his wife's table, leaning down to give her a quick kiss on the cheek. Observers noted the gesture, some relieved that the power couple of Lagos still displayed unity. I got in just in time, he said quietly, smoothing the collar of his agbada. Adeola responded with an even tone, I'm glad you're here. The program is about to start. She then gestured toward the stage, where the MC was taking the microphone. The opening speech was a powerful one. The MC introduced Adeola as the driving force behind the event, listing her numerous charitable achievements. The crowd erupted in applause when she took the podium to speak. Her voice unwavering, Adeola shared a personal anecdote of how she had grown up without her parents, crediting her grandmother's sacrifices for her success. She explained the purpose of the charity, emphasizing that every donation from the evening would go toward providing shelter, healthcare, and education for orphans across Nigeria. Amaka, lingering at the back of the room, felt an unexpected wave of admiration. Despite her self-assured front, she was quietly impressed by Adeola's eloquence. It dawned on her that Adeola wasn't just some clueless, privileged woman. She was an accomplished figure, someone who had turned tragedy into an impetus for change. For a fleeting moment, Amaka wondered what it would feel like to stand on that stage, revered for her humanitarian efforts, rather than for her looks or her rumored entanglements. When the applause died down, the program progressed. A speech by the Minister of Women Affairs, a performance by a well-known poet, and a short video documentary on the plight of orphans in rural parts of the country. All the while, waiters served cocktails and hors d'oeuvres, weaving gracefully among the tables. Conversations resumed, yet the tension between Adeola, Olumide, and Amaka remained an undercurrent to the event's polished veneer. At one point, Olumide excused himself, presumably to speak with a business associate. Instead, he discreetly slipped out to find Amaka. He discovered her near a side corridor that led to the restrooms, scanning the crowd with a faint hint of impatience. The moment they saw each other, a dozen questions flitted silently between them. Olumide whispered, "Why didn't you wait for me outside? You came in here with such a big entrance." Amaka scoffed softly, crossing her arms. "I had an invitation. I'm not some gatecrasher. Besides, this is the perfect place to network. And you said you'd meet me at the entrance. You never came." He ran a hand over his neatly trimmed beard, uneasy. "Look, this is more complicated than you realize. Adeola is the host. This is her biggest event of the year. We can't draw attention to ourselves." Amaka narrowed her eyes, feeling a pang of resentment. She had fantasized about how Olumide would introduce her to the city's elite, possibly bridging her into a world of boundless opportunity. "So, am I supposed to hide in the corner all night? Is that how little I matter?" she retorted, voice low but charged. Olumide softened his tone. "That's not what I'm saying. It's just that if the press starts linking you to me publicly, it'll cause a massive scandal. This entire fundraiser is about the children. Adeola's reputation must stay spotless, or everything she's worked for could suffer." Amaka exhaled, scanning Olumide's face. She saw the conflict tearing him apart, the loyalty to his wife's public image and the desire to maintain his extramarital fling. She relented, but not without a stinging remark. "Fine. I'll keep a low profile. But you owe me for this, Olumide. I didn't come all the way here just to stand in the shadows." He nodded, gratitude mixing with anxiety in his eyes. "Thank you," he whispered, then returned to the main hall, leaving Amaka to cool her heels in semi-seclusion. Meanwhile, Adeola was swamped by guests wishing to congratulate her on a splendid event so far. Dignitaries applauded her philanthropic efforts, while celebrities requested her presence for quick interviews or photo ops. She accepted them graciously, standing for pictures and answering questions about her vision for the next few years. Every now and then, she spotted Olumide circling around the hall, seemingly restless, checking his phone repeatedly. She knew in her heart who he was texting. When it was time for the silent auction, a highlight of the evening, Adeola took the stage once more, explaining how guests could bid on items such as handmade jewelry from Ghana, luxury resort trips to Mauritius, and original artworks by emerging African artists. The excitement in the room was palpable as guests raised their paddles, eager to outbid one another for both a good cause and a status symbol. Amaka, watching from a distance, felt torn. Part of her wanted to join in, to be visible and potentially rub shoulders with top-tier business magnates. Yet she remembered Olumide's warning. The last thing she needed was to make headlines in a negative way, jeopardizing her lavish lifestyle. Still, she couldn't resist showcasing her new status. So, she quietly approached the auction area and placed a bid on a stunning diamond-encrusted bangle set, starting the bidding at a shockingly high figure. Gasps and murmurs rippled through the crowd, and heads turned, trying to identify the bold bidder. Adeola, holding the microphone, gracefully acknowledged the bid. Beneath her poised exterior, she recognized Amaka's move. An uneasy hush fell over her soul. She realized the mistress was no shrinking violet. The diamond bangle set had been donated by a prominent jewelry brand, and its estimated value was massive. For Amaka to throw such a sum indicated the depth of her confidence or the depth of her pockets. Perhaps, Adeola mused, both. In that tense minute, nobody countered the bid. The item was sold to Amaka in what felt like the blink of an eye. A wave of chatter swept the room as the auctioneer declared, "Congratulations to the lady in the emerald green dress." Adeola swallowed hard, forcing a smile as she said, "Thank you for your generosity. The children truly appreciate it." She shot a measured glance toward the young woman across the crowd, who returned her gaze with a cool, triumphant smile. With that simple exchange, the air crackled with unspoken truths. The two women, one, a respected philanthropist with an unsteady marriage, the other, a driven socialite hungry for fame and fortune, had locked eyes in an unspoken duel. The night was far from over. Amid the celebrations, music, and well-intended donations, a revelation was creeping ever closer, one that would place Amaka and Adeola on a collision course in front of all of Lagos. The auction concluded on a high note, raising a considerable sum for Adeola's charity. Bids flew in from local tech entrepreneurs, foreign diplomats, and even the occasional Nollywood star who wanted a collectible piece of art or a getaway to an exotic African resort. Though Adeola's heart soared at the generosity directed at the children's cause, an underlying heaviness tugged at her spirit. By the time dinner was served, the event hall was abuzz with chatter. Plates of gourmet cuisine made their rounds, fusion dishes blending West African spices and continental flair. Rose champagne and fresh fruit juices flowed in abundance. The live band switched to a slower tempo, allowing guests to savor their meals while the MC humorously engaged them with charitable pledges. Amaka's unprecedented bid dominated hushed conversations. No one knew who she was, or how she could nonchalantly throw money at a diamond bangle set. A few recognized her face from Lagos gossip tabloids, but no one felt bold enough to question her outright. Among the crowd, however, was a well-known social media commentator named Tund Techie Talk Olumide, who streamed snippets of the event live to his tens of thousands of YouTube subscribers. From a corner table, Tund angled his phone discreetly, capturing the evening's highlights. He narrated updates for his viewers, careful to maintain decorum since he had been invited by Adeola's team to help publicize the fundraiser. When news of the dramatic auction win reached Tund's ears, his journalistic curiosity flared. He panned his phone camera slowly toward Amaka, zooming in on her regal stance and the new diamond bangle glinting on her wrist. Viewers, rumor has it that this mysterious lady just paid a small fortune for that sparkly bracelet. Could there be a new queen of Lagos high society in town? He whispered, letting intrigue blossom among his online audience. In another section of the hall, Adeola mingled with guests, her outward calm concealing the internal turmoil that had begun to simmer. Each time her eyes flicked in Amaka's direction, she was reminded that this woman was intimately connected to her husband, and brazen enough to display it. Adeola had always tackled her problems quietly, preferring reason and dignity. But witnessing Amaka's flamboyant show of wealth felt like a personal challenge. An hour later, dessert was served, mini chin-chin in champagne flutes, coconut tarts, and a rich chocolate cake dusted with edible gold. The MC invited the major donors to the stage, praising their contributions. One by one, people made short remarks. Some spoke of the children's plight, others lauded Adeola's initiative. Amaka watched from the crowd, arms folded. She was itching for some recognition. After all, her purchase had been the single largest donation so far, and that diamond bangle cost a small fortune. She craved the spotlight, wanting to be acknowledged as a generous socialite on par with, if not surpassing, others in attendance. As if reading her mind, the MC, keen on dramatic flair, announced, "I'd now like to call on the lovely woman who placed the extraordinary winning bid on that stunning diamond set. Madam, please come up and say a few words." Amaka's heart soared. This was the moment she had prayed for. Cameras shifted in her direction, an unspoken hush washing over the room. Amaka stepped forward. She glided onto the stage with her head held high, her emerald green dress shimmering under the spotlights. Her posture oozed confidence as she took the microphone. At a loss for a scripted speech, she improvised. "Good evening, distinguished guests," she began, her smile radiating across the hall. "I'm honored to contribute to such a worthy cause. When I heard about Mrs. Williams's wonderful work with orphans, I felt compelled to do my part. Africa's future rests on the shoulders of our youth, and it's incumbent on every one of us, especially those blessed with resources, to elevate these children. They deserve education, shelter, love, and hope." Scattered applause followed her words. Even Adeola, despite her reservations, found herself clapping. The woman spoke with surprising eloquence, championing a cause that Adeola herself cherished. For a moment, tension eased, replaced by a sense of shared purpose. But then Amaka, fueled by her desire for recognition, added something that froze the hall in place. "And I must add," Amaka continued, her eyes scanning the onlookers. "I'd like to thank my wonderful benefactor, someone whose generosity has changed my life and allowed me to stand here today, giving back." She paused, letting curiosity mount. "This person has been a true pillar of support, and I—" Before she could continue, the sound of feedback crackled from the speakers. One of the event coordinators hurried onto the stage, feigning a polite smile while taking the microphone from Amaka. "Thank you so much for your heartfelt words, madam. We're delighted to have you here." The coordinator glanced at Adeola for guidance, but Adeola managed only a tight-lipped nod. In truth, Adeola feared that if Amaka dropped Olumide's name, or even alluded to him strongly, the scandal would overshadow the entire evening. Amaka stepped down from the stage with a sense of disappointment. She had been cut off, but the seed of her message had been planted. Now, the entire hall buzzed with speculation. Who was this benefactor? Did she mean a husband, a boyfriend, or a sponsor of sorts? The older socialites exchanged knowing looks. In Nigeria's upper crust, the line between genuine philanthropy and sugar daddy dynamics was thin enough to generate endless gossip. Within minutes, Tund Techie Talk Rodami's live stream chat exploded. Messages poured in. Could the benefactor be Chief Williams? This must be the mistress the blogs have been talking about. It's so obvious, guys. Omo, that savage. She's praising the wife in front of everyone. Tund felt his phone vibrate with notifications, and he knew he'd struck digital gold. Controversy had a way of generating views. Nonetheless, as a professional, he was mindful not to spark a direct confrontation on site. He merely observed, capturing subtle shifts in the atmosphere, the glances people exchanged, the tension emanating from Olumide, who stood stiffly near the stage, unsure of whether to approach Amaka or stay at his wife's side. Then came the pivotal moment that would unravel the carefully maintained facade. One of the event sponsors, a flamboyant car dealership mogul named Kunal Bakar, recognized Amaka's face. He was the same individual who had processed the paperwork for her brand new Mercedes. Oblivious to the hush that had settled in the hall, Kunal called out loudly, "Madam. That's you, right? The proud new owner of the Mercedes GLE last month, purchased under the Williamses' family account." His voice carried over the hum of murmuring guests, and in an instant, all eyes snapped to Amaka. She blinked, momentarily stunned, and then tried to mask her panic with a charming laugh. That was me," she conceded, her cheeks coloring. A ripple of shock passed through the crowd, for the man had essentially declared that her luxurious car was tied to Adeola's family finances. Adeola's complexion turned pale under her makeup, and she fought to maintain composure. This was the moment she feared. It was now clear to everyone that Amaka's wealth was directly tethered to the Williams brand. And in that crowd, rumors already suggested that she might be Chief Williams's mistress. As the hush deepened, some guests quietly excused themselves, pretending they needed fresh air or to retrieve something from their cars, afraid of getting caught up in an impending drama. Others, especially the younger socialites and paparazzi, inched closer, their curiosity piqued. Smartphones discreetly began recording the unfolding scene. Trying to salvage the moment, Adeola rose from her seat, her posture regal. In a clear, measured tone, she spoke. "Yes, our family business, Williams Holdings, sponsors various charitable endeavors and occasionally extends corporate privileges to individuals involved in our philanthropic network." She glanced at Amaka, her voice unwavering. "We're glad that Carr has enabled you to attend tonight and contribute so generously." It was a masterful attempt at damage control, gracious and firm at once. However, the silence that followed was thick with suspicion. Was Amaka truly a part of the philanthropic network, or something else entirely? The tension soared to near boiling point. Cameras continued flashing, capturing every facial twitch, every awkward shift. In the corner, Tun's phone was blowing up with messages from viewers. "This is about to go down. Adeola is so classy. She's handling this so well." Amaka's face, though, priceless. Amaka struggled to breathe normally, her mind racing. The unthinkable had happened. Her biggest secret had just been laid bare in front of the city's finest. She realized, belatedly, that she might have paraded her new lifestyle too boldly. Now she stood exposed, center stage in a spectacle that threatened to overshadow the entire purpose of the gala. Yet amidst the swirling drama, Adeola remained resolute. Her lifetime of advocating for the less privileged outweighed any embarrassment she might feel. Despite everything, she refused to let the children be robbed of their moment. But the evening's unraveling was not done yet. Another twist lay on the horizon, one that would seal the fate of all involved before the final curtain fell. The room's collective breath hung in the balance for what felt like an eternity. Murmurs of disbelief and excitement circled as people tried to piece together the implications of the car dealership mogul's revelation. It was now evident that the brand-new luxury Mercedes Amaka had flaunted online was paid for by the Williams family's account, effectively, Adeola's money. Although Adeola attempted to spin it as a business sponsorship, the heir was too charged with suspicion for the explanation to settle quietly. Olumide stood at the edge of the crowd, locked in a silent standoff with his wife. Adeola's gaze flickered to him for a mere second, enough to convey her disappointment and heartbreak. She quickly redirected her eyes elsewhere, refusing to give him the public showdown many onlookers clearly anticipated. Amaka, for her part, swallowed hard. She felt every stare like a physical weight on her body. Her mind scrambled to find an escape route. Maybe I can walk out, slip past the paparazzi? She cursed herself for not foreseeing such a scenario. Pride warred with self-preservation. She had wanted recognition, but not this. At least, not like this. Trying to salvage the evening's momentum, the MC, sensing the tension, asked the audience to turn their attention to a short video presentation detailing how the funds from the gala would be used. The lights dimmed, and the screen lit up, showcasing interviews with orphan children who had been positively impacted by Adeola's previous charitable works. The room quieted as images of hopeful faces flashed across the screen. Despite the swirling drama, the children's plight managed to tug at hearts, reminding everyone present of the gala's genuine mission. For Adeola, the film became a moment of clarity. Watching the smiling faces of children reminded her that she had devoted her life to making a real difference. She thought of the countless hours spent planning scholarships, partnering with NGOs, traveling to remote villages for medical outreach. This scandal could shake her marriage and her personal pride, but it would not destroy her mission. As the video ended, she rose to address the crowd one final time, her voice commanding gentle respect. I want to thank each and every one of you for your generosity tonight. The proceeds raised will go directly to our orphanages and educational programs. We will make a real impact on the lives of children who deserve a fair chance at success. This cause transcends personal differences, rumors, or misunderstandings. It's about building a future for those who have no one else to turn to. Thank you and God bless you all. The applause started tentatively but soon grew into a roaring ovation. Adeola's composure earned her admiration from many in the audience. Some guests wiped tears from their eyes, moved by her unwavering dedication. The claps lasted so long that it was almost as if the crowd willed away the drama, wanting to restore the gala to the uplifting event it was meant to be. Yet, the viral wave was unstoppable. Social media platforms lit up the night sky with real-time commentary. Techie Talk Rotomi's YouTube feed soared in viewership. Hashtags #Adeola Williams Charity, #Mistress Drama, and #Hope for Orphans began trending across Twitter in Nigeria and even in parts of Ghana and South Africa. Short video clips of Amaka's speech, the car dealership mogul's declaration, and Adeola's graceful response were shared thousands of times within minutes. Media outlets scrambled to get official statements from Adeola's representatives. In the immediate aftermath, many guests began making a discreet exit. Some left early to avoid potential media frenzy. Others stayed behind to offer Adeola words of encouragement. Amaka's earlier bravado faded, replaced by the stark realization that her presence was no longer welcome, if it ever had been. Seeking to avoid further confrontation, she slipped away through a side exit, her heartbeat pounding in her ears. By the time she reached her prized Mercedes, her hands shook, fumbling to press the key fob. Her dream of a triumphant appearance had devolved into public humiliation. The short drive to her apartment felt like an eternity. She couldn't help but wonder what the next day's headlines would read. Meanwhile, Adeola remained, greeting the last of the departing guests with a practiced smile, although her eyes gleamed with unshed tears. When she was finally alone with Nkem and Zainab, she exhaled deeply, shoulders sagging from the weight of the night's revelations. Nkem patted her arm softly. "My dear friend, you handled that like a true queen. The scandal might spread, but so will the story of your class and devotion to those children." Adeola gave a small nod, grateful for the support. Olumide approached carefully, his posture stiff with remorse. "Adeola," he began quietly, "I'm sorry. I never wanted—" She held up a hand, stopping him. "Not now, Olumide. We'll talk at home." Her tone was firm, lacking its usual warmth. There was no anger in her voice, only exhaustion. She walked away, leaving him staring after her in a swirl of regret. That night, after the venue was cleared and the staff began dismantling the decorations, the internet exploded with coverage of the event. Uploads of Mistress gatecrashes charity and Billionaire's wife confronts Mistress at gala racked up hundreds of thousands of views. Tun's livestream was replayed so many times that his subscriber count skyrocketed. Memes circulated with text overlays capturing Adeola's stoic expressions and Amaka's shocked face. Some netizens criticized the Mistress for her brazen display, while others speculated on Adeola's next move. Through it all, one common thread prevailed: universal admiration for Adeola's benevolence toward orphans. In the days that followed, the scandal was fodder for every gossip blogger in West Africa. Paparazzi camped outside Adeola's mansion, hungry for an update. Some reporters praised her philanthropic event for raising a record-breaking amount, while others exploited the messy love triangle angle, painting Olumide as a philandering husband. The children's cause also received an unexpected boost, as donations poured in from around the globe, with many touched by Adeola's unyielding commitment despite personal trials. As for Amaka, her social media persona crumbled under the assault of public scrutiny. Negative comments flooded her Instagram. Sponsors and brand deals she'd been courting withdrew their interest, wary of associating with someone engulfed in scandal. She found herself increasingly isolated, her glitzy phone calls and invitations drying up. The bangle she had bid on, once a shining symbol of her new status, now felt like a mocking reminder of the night she had been laid bare. 1 week after the gala, Adeola made a surprise announcement on social media. She released a calm, poised video statement, filmed in her study. She thanked everyone who had supported her charity, listing the total donations and highlighting how they would be allocated for healthcare, education, and safe housing for orphans. Toward the end of the video, she touched on the personal speculations swirling around. "I want to reiterate something fundamental. This cause is not about me, nor about my personal challenges. It's about the children who rely on our community's generosity and empathy. My husband and I will address our private matters privately. To all who stand with us in this mission, thank you. We continue to move forward, stronger than ever." The video went viral, praised as dignified and inspiring. Thousands left comments commending her strength and compassion. Donations surged once more. In a twist of fate, what could have entirely destroyed her reputation instead elevated Adeola to an even higher pedestal as a model of grace under fire. Olumide, facing his own demons, offered a public apology on a local radio station, acknowledging his missteps and promising to repair the trust he had breached. His words rang hollow to some, but it was a start. Behind closed doors, he worked diligently to reconcile with his wife, although Adeola, uncertain of the future of their marriage, chose to focus on her philanthropic efforts for the time being. Amaka, meanwhile, found herself at a crossroads. The luxurious life she'd tasted began to evaporate, leaving her in a bleak spiral of self-reflection. A small voice inside her realized that if she wanted lasting respect and a secure future, she needed to build it on her own merits. Humbled by the public fallout, she decided to leave Lagos for a while, retreating to her family's home in Enugu. She told herself she would one day return to the city under different terms, on her own accomplishments rather than a married man's wallet. In the end, the viral story that emerged from this dramatic affair did more than just entertain or scandalize. It highlighted the resilience of a modern African woman who prioritized her mission to help the less privileged. Adeola's unwavering dedication and composure under intense personal betrayal became a talking point for weeks. People across Africa and beyond debated the complexities of power, marriage, and philanthropy in a rapidly evolving society. The memory of that night, when a mistress flaunted a car unknowingly gifted by the millionaire wife, remained etched in the annals of social media and society gossip, but it also served as a powerful reminder of the capacity for grace, dignity, and transformational empathy even amid chaos. For Adeola, life continued. Her charity thrived, her name forever associated with hope for vulnerable children. The lessons she had learned about love, loyalty, and the resilience of the human spirit were carried quietly in her heart, guiding her future steps. The city moved on to newer scandals and fresh stories, as it always did, but the echoes of that fateful gala night lingered in the corridors of Lagos high society, shaping the narrative of what it truly meant to be both wealthy and compassionate in modern Africa. The end. If you enjoyed this story, we invite you to give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Your support motivates us to keep bringing heartwarming stories almost every day. We are very grateful for your support. See you soon.